What is up, everybody? Philadelphia, it is Friday, and we are getting ready for Eagles football, and we are getting ready for the NFL, which, listen, has been tremendous so far. We all know that, but Jigsaw Judgment today has a Sixers vibe to it. It does. It has a Sixers feel, and you all know why. Listen, the NBA is in the news all the time. Okay, just because of the NBA bubble, we have tons to talk about, especially here in Philadelphia, because we still don't have a coach. We still do not have a coach, and that is going to be the topic of today. Because you say whatever you want, and I've been through this back and forth with people all over Twitter today, which is fine, which I love. I love communicating with the audience, right? That is why we do what we do. But this Mike D'Antoni name is not going away. It's just not. It's staying right here. It's not going away, and it continues to grow. It continues to grow legs, and now we keep hearing about James Harden. Right. And again, I understand people think this is ridiculous. And I've seen people online, here we go talking about the same thing all over again. You're really not. This is a legitimate topic. You have a team who has not been successful with the talent that they have acquired. And you have a team right now whose upper management is in disarray. You have a team right now who doesn't have a head coach and looks like it has zero direction. So why are we not allowed to talk about it? This is what people want to hear, especially when you see things getting thrown out about the Philadelphia 76ers saying people are available. People are available for trade. Oh, okay, that's blowing this thing up, people. That's a tremendous topic right now. Say what you want, but that is the topic of the day. Are you willing to part with any of these guys? And no, listen, for everybody, I'm trying to start off because I get so infuriated, I get so frustrated because I'm very passionate about my beliefs. I'm very passionate about my direction. I'm not saying I want them to trade anyone, but what I'm saying is if I'm reading stories, legitimate stories from credible writers, these aren't people just throwing stuff out on Twitter, okay? It's not. Okay, when I read stuff from guys like Keith Pompey, I know he's connected. And I'm not saying Keith Pompey say this is going to happen, but when you hear him come out and say that people are talking, that means there's a lot of smoke where the fire is. And that's what I want to talk about. And I keep hearing that people are saying that Matisse Thybulle is not a piece. He is a piece. He's a very big piece. And I don't want to trade that piece. I'm sorry. That is the one guy I feel like that we can actually work with. That's the one guy I feel like we drafted that is going to be a player. Every other draft has been wasted, okay, with all due respect to everyone else. And obviously I'm not talking about Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, but I'm talking about every single other pick. Everything has been wasted. Either we've traded it away or it hasn't worked out. I mean, Zaire Smith can't play. We all know that. We should have kept Mikal Bridges. We already know about Markelle Fultz. We don't need to get into that. But right now this team can be built the right way if we keep certain pieces. And if, again, I'm going to say this again, if and only if, people, you have to realize, if Mike D'Antoni is going to be the next head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, you have to start saying goodbye to Joel Embiid. Look what the history is. Look at what a D'Antoni offense looks like. Understand what he will come in and basically establish as his vision. Understand that if you can get a Ben Simmons surrounded by a bunch of shooters, and my boy Steve on Sports checked in on Twitter, and he was the first one to mention it, and he was 100% correct. He is part of the Heat Ratio family. Okay, he was 100% correct because that is today's NBA. If you are able to get Ben Simmons to develop around 3 to 4 or 5 shooters, I'm telling you right now, that is the way to go. And that's why I said I would not trade Matisse Thybulle before I traded Joel Embiid. I'm not saying I want to trade either of them, but what I'm saying is you have to read what's on the wall. You have to read the writing on the wall, so to speak, right? I mess it up, but that's okay. We can redo it. That's why it's radio. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the way this team is constructed right now. And it's not constructed the way that Mike D'Antoni would like. Am I saying he's going to be the head coach? I hope not. I don't want Mike D'Antoni here. I don't. But I do understand, listen, it makes sense. The NBA is a business. Okay? The NBA is a business. And you got to understand. Look at the Philadelphia Phillies. When Joe Girardi agreed to be the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, you know damn well that he said, I want to have some kind of control. I want to bring my guy Didi in. That's who I want. And that's what he did. And you don't think that D'Antoni's going to take this job and not bring his vision with him? Not people really think that that's not going to happen? Of course it is. That's what happens. This is the NBA. Mike D'Antoni's not coming in to rebuild a franchise. He's coming in to do what he wants to do the way he wants to do it. And if he does get this job, that's exactly what he is going to do. Eric, thanks for checking in, buddy. As always, if this happens, I'm finished with this team. Dribble, dribble, dribble. Never saw a more selfish player in my lifetime. We can call it the process part deuce. I like it. Eric, listen, I am not a James Harden guy. I completely agree with you. All I am saying, which I continue to say to people who want to fire me up on Twitter and say I want to trade the whole house, I am not saying that. I am just reading between the lines. If you bring a guy like Nate McMillan in here or a guy like Sam Cassell, which our good buddy, Andre Johnson suggested, my man A-Bomb, who said that maybe it's going to be Sam Cassell, it's different. Then I'm feeling more comfortable, and I'm not saying that these trades are going to happen. But if you see what Houston did, they went small. They went to a run-and-gun style of offense. That's what I brought Ross in, and that's why they let Clint Capella go. That's exactly what they did. Okay? They wanted, and it didn't work. At the end of the day, it didn't work. And I'm not saying it's going to work here either, but what I am saying is that if Mike D'Antoni is going to be the head coach, if he is in the mix, that means the 76ers are very open to trading any one of their players. They could say Ben and Joe are off limits all they want, but come on, man. This is a business. And Elton, if he's going to be the GM, he has to save his job as well. So that's my whole point. My whole point today is just to say, listen, I am not advocating for James Harden. What I am saying is if and only if there is going to be a possibility of them trading any of these players at all, and if they're all up for grabs, I'm saying, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you two guys. Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle to me are untouchable, not Joel Embiid. And you can argue with me all you want. I'm just telling you right now, if for future production and for the future of this franchise, those are the two players I'm keeping. If I can get to Tobias Harris, please go. I like Al Horford, but I'll tell you what, if you want to be able to move him and bring somebody else that fits this mold a little more, then again, by all means, get rid of Al Horford. And listen, if D'Antoni comes here, that's exactly what he's going to want to do. If Daryl Morey comes here as a team president, that's exactly what he's going to do. So get ready. Just be prepared. Be prepared to see either James Harden or CP3 in a Philadelphia 76ers uniform. I'm telling you that right now. That is the way this is going to go down if Mike D'Antoni is the head coach. Now, there are so many other candidates. I understand that they're going to interview other people. They're still going to go the Tyronn Lue direction. They're still going to go, they're going to interview Jason Kidd, most likely, Sam Cassell. We still have the women that we've talked about, Dawn Staley, Becky Hammond. There's so many different alternatives out there. It just seems like one thing I've learned, and again, and I know you guys are very smart. Listen, we don't get labeled the most smartest fan base in America for no reason. We are very educated because we understand we've been through a lot, right? We've been through a ton, especially with the Sixers. We have been through a ton. I mean, think about the days, the Ron Anderson and Charles Shackelford days, the Johnny Davis days, right? I mean, think about all the bad days that we've had as Sixers fans. So at the end, right now, that's what made us so educated because we can see the writing on the wall. We can see what's happening. And we understand. We may not like it, and that's why we vent. But we understand that this is going to be a mess, right? This is going to be a mess. And we understand that Again, Eric checking in. I agree with you 100%. Thanks, Eric. If D'Antoni becomes the head coach and assistant GM, this team will not look the same. I also would give up Embiid, but not Simmons. Harden is going to be 33 years old when his contract is up in 2 years, which is all the more reason why Houston would like to trade him, right? It's all the more reason why Houston would look to move him. And if they can get a player back like Matisse Thybulle, who's under team control and is a young player, that's exactly what they want. And I'm not giving that up. This is my point. I am not giving up Matisse. I would give up Embiid in a heartbeat, okay? Because I'm going to tell you something right now. It's just not going to work here. It's not. It's not going to work here. And why would we bring a coach in to run a system with players where it doesn't work? This is the one coach that you bring in here. You already know. It's obvious. It will not work with Joel Embiid. It will not work. And Joel Embiid was not banging down the doors about staying in Philadelphia either. Let's make no mistake about it. You did not hear Joel Embiid come out and say how he loves to be here and wants to retire. Listen, Joel Embiid did not stick up for Brett Brown at the door. Joel Embiid did not take ownership for such a flawed team last year. Joel Embiid did not say anything. He basically was the catalyst of putting everything on Brett Brown. I mean, at the end of the day, that's basically what happened. Okay, and for that, it shows me that Joel wanted to keep his options open. And Joel's never going to turn into the player that we expect him to be. I hate to break it to you. He's just not. He's always going to be injury prone. He's always going to be that player that has it but never really develops it. Okay, he can be great. He can be fantastic. He really can. But I'll tell you what, I just don't think it's going to be in Philadelphia. I don't, because you have to look at the landscape. Right? You have to look at exactly the way this team is constructed right now and the money they have on the table. And I still think no matter what, shot or not, Ben Simmons is the guy you keep. And I would love to see, picture this, right? Look at the Houston Rockets team. And again, I'm talking D'Antoni here because my gut right now just says that this is going to be the guy. My gut says it's going to be the guy. And, everything I hear and everything I read, it makes too much sense. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. It just makes a lot of sense on both parties. The interest was there prior. The interest is still there now. They need a coach. I don't think they want to go with somebody young. I don't. I think they want to go with somebody established again because they feel they can win right now. And I'll tell you what, they can't win right now with the team that they have. So that's why you bring a guy in like D'Antoni, you bring a guy in like Daryl Morey, and you do the best you can to get somebody here who could shoot the ball, which is why, again, whether we like it or not, the James Harden name surfaces. Now, think about this just for 1 second. Okay, if the Philadelphia 76ers can work some kind of magic here, right? If they can work some kind of magic, I honestly think, this is going to sound crazy, but I think Tobias Harris can play very well in a D'Antoni system. Now, I'm not a Tobias Harris guy. I think he was very soft. I think he was very weak, and he did not play up to abilities. Now, was that the system or was that the player? Something to be said for a guy under 30 years old that's been traded 3 times before he got a maxed-out contract. Something to be said about that, especially when you're throwing up 18 to 20 every game. He's just not consistent enough for me. Now, will he be more consistent? I mean, you look at guys that flourished under D'Antoni in Houston. A guy like Eric Gordon. Okay, Eric Gordon was tremendous for D'Antoni out there. Knocked down a ton of shots. Had a great percentage beyond 3. So that's kind of what D'Antoni brings. So maybe if you are going to bring D'Antoni here, and maybe, again, this is all maybe, it's pure speculation, but we have to talk about it. We have to think about it. Stop running away from it. Okay, people run away from these things, and I'm so tired of hearing about people say, here we go, same old sports talk again. Yeah, but guess what, people? What? Explain to me, what do you want to talk about? Like, all those people that comment that on Twitter, all those people that say, another stagnant conversation, tell me something. Bring up a conversation to me, and we'll talk about it. Bring something up. Everybody sits behind a computer and they type all day long. They type on their phones, they type on their computer, but they never bring anything else up. Bring something to the forefront. Bring your topic then. Stop talking about how everything's stagnant and bring something else up. This is a very legit topic. James, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Thanks for checking in. But again, this is very legitimate. This is something, again, I have been very passionate about. I've told you guys this before. This is an historic offseason for the Philadelphia 76ers. We are either going to take a step forward or we're going to take 5 steps back. Okay? That's what this offseason is going to bring us. Because depending on what you do with the talent evaluation, depending on what you do with the players you have right now and the head coach and the front office, we are either going to win or we are going to lose for the next 3 to 4 years. And we are going to be behind the 8 ball when you talk about the Eastern Conference, because those teams coming up, man, when you talk about Brooklyn, okay, you still talk about Toronto in that mix, Indiana, Boston, Milwaukee. We're not better than any of those teams. We're not better than any of them. Miami, look at what Miami's doing. I hate it. It makes me cry to watch Jimmy Buckets out there. Just making Tyler Hero, that's how you draft. Gordon Dragic, we don't have any of those guys here. None of them. We have none of that. So if you want to sit there and you want to watch a complete mess and you want to watch the same product on the court, then you know what, by all means. Then we won't talk about it and we'll just hope that they can win next year. But I'm for change, okay, if it's going to help us in a positive way. And that's what I'm going to talk about. And guess what? If you don't like it, just swipe left, swipe right. I know this isn't Tinder, but just go on another page. It's all good. I want to talk about what's relevant today, and this is what's relevant. And Sean, what's up, buddy? Long time no see, my man. Do you think Ben or JoJo need to go? Or do you think our next coach can build a legit system around both? Sean, like we've been talking about, it all depends on the coach, man. I think, unfortunately, in today's NBA, I feel like it's just not going to work. The more I watch the NBA bubble, the more – listen, all you need to do is watch Denver. Right? You need to watch Denver play, and you need to see what they do around Jokic, right? Jokic is not Embiid. Right now, I'd rather have Jokic. I would. I think he does more than Joe. He's able to do more. The difference between Jokic and Joe is when Joe sits outside at the top of the key at the three-point line, he's clumsy. He's very big and clumsy. He really doesn't have that ability, where Jokic does. And they put a bunch of shooters around Jokic, and that's why that team has been so good. Now, I think that can happen in Philly, depending on the way they structure their offense. But somebody's going to have to go. You can't – if you bring in a new head coach in here that's not Mike D'Antoni, and you want to keep Ben and Joe, then you better work your ass off to bring in a bunch of shooters, because I'll tell you what, that same style of offense is not going to work. And the defensive system against that offense is going to dictate the game flow every single game, just like it did for the last 2 years. So in that essence, it can't work. I think ultimately, Sean, unfortunately, I think it's going to have to be Joe who's got to go. I really do, because I think, again, like I said it again, my boy Steve on Sports tweeted out earlier about, if they surrounded a bunch of shooters with Ben Simmons, it would be really, really electric. And I agree with them. I do. If you were able to formulate an offensive system, that would be ridiculous. What's up, Joe? Checking it. Is that a Rod Scary jersey? No, this is, I'm not going to say the name. Does everybody know? UNLV, number 4, right? Okay, come on. You got to know who that is. I won't even show you the back. It's one of my favorite running Rebs. You remember under Jerry Tarkanian. So I'm sure somebody will get it. Okay. At the end of the day, though, man, would I like to have this guy on this team right now? Woo! I'll tell you. But listen, yeah, Sean. But to say that, I really think one of them's going to have to go. I hate to say it, but I was a very big advocate in the beginning for keeping both guys. I was, and saying that these are 2 generational superstars, generational talents that you keep together and you find on our different system. But the names that I keep hearing, and the names are being associated with the 76ers team as a head coach and a front office, it doesn't mesh. It just doesn't mesh, and I don't think it'll ever mesh. I don't. I think right now the only way you're going to do is catch up to all these teams is you got to find some shooters, man. And I don't trust your draft capabilities as an organization, because you've shown to screw that up already, and you've wasted so much money and so much draft capital that I don't really know if you can do anything except bring in a guy like James Harden or CP3, right? I agree. That's why Russ and Harden will never win together. You know what? It's funny. I actually thought that system was going to work. I did. I thought, and you know why? In my opinion, it didn't work because Russell Westbrook. Everybody talks about Harden. Dude, Harden's not the problem. I am not a Russell Westbrook guy. I'm not. I think he's tremendous. When we talk about speed and ability, but as a teammate, and I don't like him at all. I think he's very egotistical. He's very me driven. He's a selfish player, and that's why it didn't work out there. If Russ wasn't so damn selfish, okay, and Harden didn't have that selfish mold in him as well, then it would have worked. I do. I think that system would have worked because they were that good. They were. I mean, Russ was putting up MVP numbers before the NBA went on pause. So, and Harden, we already know what Harden brings to the table. So, and I think he's a very underrated defender as well. And so, listen, you're right. I mean, that's why they didn't win in Houston. That's my opinion on why they didn't win. Now, the Ben and Joe discussion is a little different, but I still don't think they do two different things, and I don't think you could bring them in together right now. Now, hear me out. If we were able to draft well and Tobias Harris was able to be the guy we thought he was going to be, and maybe if we had a Mikal Bridges here, and maybe we had a couple shooters here, okay, maybe it'd be a little different. But the Brett Brown system just didn't fit. He tried, and it just didn't work. And if Mike D'Antoni is the next head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, man, I'll tell you what, get ready. Just get ready. Now, I think there's a lot of other options out there, like I've talked about, but I just don't see it happening right now. I feel like this is D'Antoni's job to lose. I do. The only way that D'Antoni doesn't come here is if they don't formulate a plan prior and it doesn't get locked down. Now, what I mean by that is I really think that Mike D'Antoni comes here based on the fact that there's a deal in place already. I think you'll see. I think you'll see a trade before D'Antoni gets the job, if he's going to get it. So I think you'll hear whispers of a Joel Embiid trade or something to that effect, and setting it up for a Mike D'Antoni signing, so he can already come in and talk about how he's going to run the system. Because I don't think D'Antoni's at the point of his career where he wants to come in, run a press conference, and say, "Hey, think about how this works." D'Antoni can't come in and sit in front of the booth and say, I love Joel, I love what Ben gives me, and then 2 days later he gets traded, because then he's going to look like an idiot. He's going to look like an idiot, and he's not going to formulate trust in his players that are in that locker room already. So they're going to have to basically do something big before they bring him in. So already, these players know where he stands. Now, again, listen, this can all change in a couple days. We're not sure, but one thing's for sure. There is going to be a new head coach in here. I would say the next week, maybe 10 days tops. I think it'll be locked down no matter who it'll be. But I still think my gut says it's going to be D'Antoni, and there's going to be some major movement when we talk about the Philadelphia 76ers roster. Now, let's bring up Sunday. And, I want to touch on this because usually I only go one topic for the day, but on Jigsaw today, I didn't do a show yesterday. Had a very busy week. As you guys know, you've seen me on social media all over the place. So I try to stay as busy as possible. But what I will say, before I go, yes, it is. My man Larry Johnson, my man Sean got it right. Grandmama. It is the infamous Larry Johnson, number 4. So Larry was my man out there in UNLV. That team. Think about that team, fellas, before we go on to the Eagles and the Bengals. Think about that team of the running Rebs. And everybody forgets. I love going this question, right? Everybody forgets that lineup. They always leave out certain guys. Everybody remembers Larry Johnson, right? Everybody remembers Greg Anthony. A lot of people remember Stacey Augmon. People forget about Anderson Hunt. People forget about George Ackles. Right, they forget about that's the starting lineup right there. George Ackles was number 44, right? He was a tremendous player for that team. Anderson Hunt knocked out a lot of 3-point shots. Greg Anthony was a hell of a point guard, and Stacey Augmon was a freak. My man Eric's checking in. I'm sorry, these comments come up late because of the way the internet goes. Plastic Man, George Hackle's Plastic Man. Listen, yeah, that team, Jerry Tarkanian, the Amoeba defense. Oh man, they broke my heart when they lost to Duke. That's why I can't stand Coach K. I can't. I mean, I respect him, but I can't stand him. I really can't. But yeah, he beat my running Rebs, man. That was my team. I did not want that to happen, and that was a good Duke team, right? I mean, that was the Bobby Hurley team with Grant Hill and Thomas Hill and Christian Laettner. I mean, they had a lot of good talent on that team, man. A lot of good talent on that team. So they just ran them off the court. They did, and they beat them with speed. They beat them with really, really good precision defense. So that was a great time to be a college basketball fan. I can tell you that. But let's go into Sunday. I want to spend the last 5 or 10 minutes here talking to little birds, see what everybody's thinking, what's everybody feeling when we're talking about the Eagles and the Bengals. This is a must-win. You say what you want. It is a must-win for not only the Eagles, but for Carson Wentz. Okay? This is a must-win for Carson Wentz. And I'm going to tell you, I am deeply concerned. I've been more concerned as the week goes on because I feel like Joe Burrow is playing so well right now. He really is. Joe Burrow is playing like a man possessed. He's playing. He is. You can say what you want, but I don't think I've seen a tire spiral in the NFL in the last 15 years. Okay, I really don't. Listen, this kid's arm is fascinating to me, and he is playing really well. And Zach Taylor, he comes from the McVay offensive play calling school, and that's how creative he is. So I think he's going to give Jim Schwartz fits. I do. I think he's going to give that defense fits, and I think we're in trouble because I think this could turn into not necessarily a shootout, but I think it's going to turn into like a 27-24 kind of game. And I don't necessarily think that the Eagles can hang with that kind of offensive firepower right now. I don't. Now, the one thing that Cincinnati does do, they give up a lot of rushing yards. They gave up 159 yards per game. That's tops the NFL, last year, and they're doing it again this year. So that means that Miles Sanders could have a really big day. He played well last week. You say what you want, but he did play well last week. Listen, Joe, it's a great point. Thank you for that. I know, he was back and forth. Fletcher doesn't sound like to be a go. That's huge. They need to find disrupt the quarterback against the turnovers, and that's what you need to do with a young guy. That's what you're definitely going to need to do with Joe Burrow. You need to get up in his face. You need to make bad decisions. But, I don't know if Fletcher not going really kills me, man. I'm not sure because, Fletch hasn't really given me much. I think Malik Jackson's been the better player this year so far. So, if Hargrove can go and Fletch doesn't go and Malik Jackson can give you more in that middle, I think maybe you can get by against not a tremendous offensive line in Cincinnati, but it's a good point, though. If Fletcher doesn't go, it's going to be hard for them to get that push right up the middle, if those two guys don't produce. And we already know about the linebacker situation. So if they get past that frontier, we're in trouble. Joe Mixon, here's a scary thing. I don't want to say this is a trap game, but Joe Mixon hasn't even played to his potential. And that's what scares me. He's going to have that breakout game. And I'll tell you what, that breakout game could very well be against the Eagles this week. And I hate to see it because I'm not a Joe Mixon guy. Obviously, we know I don't like people that punch girls. But at the end of the day, he is a talented football player that has been sheltered and been checked in place over the last 2 weeks. He's a guy that could break out. And I hate to say that it's going to be against us. It's going to be terrible if it is. Burrow is the most hit quarterback so far. Exactly. And still making the playoffs. Schwartz doesn't even blitz. Burrow will hurt us with all that time. Here's the thing. We cannot develop any type of pressure whatsoever when it comes to our defensive ends. I kept hearing about Josh Sweat because of the way he played in Washington. Stop. Listen, we needed a defensive presence on the ends, and we just didn't have it. Brandon Graham, listen, I love Brandon. I think he's a tremendous player, tremendous person, but at this point of his career, I really don't know how much he can speed rush off the end anymore. So that remains to be seen. Derek Barnett is just an okay player. He's okay. And, you would think that he would come out firing away. He's already missed a game. That's been one of the MOs of his career already. He can't stay on the field. And when he does, He is not a tremendous player, so it's not like, wow, yeah, we could use him, but it's not like we're missing him drastically. I still think they should have went out and signed Clowney. I'm still going to lay claim to that. I think Clowney should have been a guy. They should have traded for Ndakwe, in Duke Way, or whatever you want to say his name. You should have signed Everson Griffin. You should have signed somebody to give you more of a present for the defensive end position. That's for damn sure. Eric checking in, this looking like a loss for the Birds. Since he has a lot of firepower in offense, with Boyd, Green, Ross, and Mixon. Listen, I completely agree. Reagor not playing hurts, and we are going to have to use Goddard and Ertz. I expect more receptions for our running backs and our wide receivers. Yeah, Reagor not playing doesn't give you the outside speed. We'll see what Deshaun Jackson can do, but I think this is a big tight end game. I completely agree with you. And Cincy, tons of firepower. Tons of firepower. Boyd, Green, Ross, Mixon, Giovanni Bernard. People forget about Bernard being one heck of a pass catch, one heck of a pass catching tailback. So he's always been very, very shifty. He's always giving defense fits when he's in the game, and he's taken over for Joe Mixon when Joe Mixon's been out. So Bernard is very capable of being that that fire plug for them when we talk about an offensive game plan. So this is why this game scares me. It really does. This game really, really scares me because fans, what do we do? What do we do if we go 0-3? I fully expect that if we go 0-3, if you look at the way the season's shaping up, there's no way that Jalen Hurts doesn't start to get meaningful snaps in these games. We can say what we want, whether we like it, whether we don't. It's just, listen, Doug's going to have to try to save his job, and there's no other way to do it, than putting the young kid in, because, listen, then you could say, I had to do something. Then Doug could say, listen, whether it works, he's a genius. If it doesn't work, he's a genius. You know why? Because at the end of the day, he can hang his hat on that simple fact that he put a rookie in there in an abbreviated all season, and he had to do what he could do, and he can clamor for more time to work with this kid in his offense. So I think that's it's a coach changing move, or a coach saving job move, I should say, for Doug P. if that happens. When do we give Doug the ability to draft players? Clearly, we're busting left and right with talent. And prime example is Jigsaw and DK. Listen, DK hurts me, man. It does. DK Metcalf hurts me. It hurts me to no end. I can't stand it. I really can't. You get to watch me. You get to see what could have been. Obviously, Jigsaw cannot play. Say what you want. It doesn't take a guy this long to develop. He's not that good, man. He's just not that good. He hasn't been able to formulate his game. Listen, I watched a rookie last week in Pittsburgh and Chase Claypool go off. There's a rookie. A rookie that can already master a playbook and show that he can at least go deep. What does Jigsaw give you? Absolutely nothing. He's giving us nothing. So, when do we give Doug the ability? I don't think Doug has the ability. I don't think anybody on that Eagles team has the ability to draft properly. I think that's one of the biggest issues. We have not – I'll tell you what. We haven't drafted right in a long time. I mean, our last best director of player personnel was probably Tom Modrak, who came from a Pittsburgh and the Buffalo system. He was a very good judge of talent. So Modrak was almost like, how the guy from the Phillies that we talked about all the time going to the Royals. That talent evaluator when that farm system went when he went. Okay, so we talk about it all the time. And Modrak, he was a very, very good director of operations for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think they miss him. They miss him clearly. They really do. And we talk about the Phillies all the time, with that power struggle with Ruben Amaro Jr. and what happened after that 2008 season. You clearly seen, the fall of our farm system and the rise of the Kansas City Royals farm system. So that was definitely a bad move. And I think it was a bad move, for the Philadelphia Eagles at that time. Obviously, Tom Modrak is too old right now, but I'm just saying that we need somebody different. So listen, everybody, I'm going to have to run. I appreciate you guys checking in. As always, I know I went a little late today. Went around noon. Usually go around 9 or 10. But again, don't forget, follow me at TKTO23. Follow the Heat Ratio podcast. Wherever you get your podcast from, please, ratings, reviews. They all are tremendous. They help. We go live every Tuesday night. Trevor getting in late. What's up, my man? Just talking to the little birds, little Sixers, just getting ready to get out of here. Give us a follow at Heat Ratio Sports on YouTube. Subscribe to our page. We have many new people coming into the fold. You're going to start seeing them pop up right here on StreamYard, right there on YouTube, getting their voices heard and using the bigger platform to not only promote what they already do, which is great, but also to promote the Heat Ratio brand as well. So again, everybody, thank you so much for checking in. Thanks for all your support as always. Hit me up. And don't forget, Sunday, 12 o'clock, we will be live right here, Fantasy Game Day on Sunday, the Fantasy Firebox. Me, Mr. John Coker, and we'll bring a couple other people in as well, talking about fantasy, getting you ready for those 1 o'clock kickoffs and those 4 o'clock matchups, and seeing what you guys think about your lineups. Because let's face it, you really can't do a lot of fantasy work before Saturday or Sunday because of the way the injury reports come out. So you have to game plan late. So we're going to be here to discuss. Everybody have a great Friday. Enjoy the weather. Have a great Saturday. And we'll catch you right back here on Sunday at noon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next time.